So my process starts with a photograph that I think is interesting. Then I make a sketch right on top of that photo. And what I'm sketching is the lights and the darks in the photo itself. For instance, when you draw, you know that the light hits your nose and your forehead and sometimes your chin. So those parts of the face are going to be lighter. And everything that goes in, like your eye sockets, that part is going to be darker. So I just start shaping those bits of light on the face, on the body, on the clothing. And I forgot to mention that I always use black and white photos because I'm really interested just in the value scale. What is light, what is medium, and what is dark, and what is the deepest dark. After I finish my sketch, I like to study it and think about the person who that portrait is. What is it that I want to say about them? And that's how I decide my color scheme. What is it that you're trying to say with the color blue? It tends to be more somber. Somebody has the blues. They might feel down, or they might just feel calm. If I want to say that this person is more powerful or they're a leader, I might be looking towards colors like red because that's considered a color that we associate with our blood and with strength, with passion. It also can be anger. So I'm looking at color to communicate a mood or a type of temperament of this person. And so I use African fabrics that have attached with them already allegories and folk tales to tell a story. There's one fabric that I used on a picture of a baseball team, and that fabric is called fish scales in one country, but it's also called a beehive. So I thought about a team and like this hive having to work together. So I'm using pattern to tell the story, and I'm also choosing it for aesthetic reasons for the way it looks. I create the illusion of three-dimensionality the same way a painter or a sketch artist would. By being able to control light and dark, we can fool our minds into thinking that something is 3D. So if a painter lightens things by adding white, or like a watercolor painter adding more water, as you dilute it, you're creating something that looks lighter. And then if you add black, you're creating something that looks darker. Or if you use a complementary color, you can also make things look darker by adding the complement. I'm doing the same thing, but I'm using it with fabric, so I can't mix the color. If I want a lighter shade of blue, I just have to find a lighter shade of blue. And then if I want to step up lighter than that, I have to choose. I might have 10 different blues of different shades in order to get the effect that I want. I also want to say that I layer my fabric, so the pieces are not put together like a jigsaw puzzle. It's layer upon layer upon layer, like a topographical map. I start cutting all those pieces and I lay them right down on the cloth. And I use little bits of glue and I use pins to put everything together like a collage. So at that point, I could stop and say this is just a fabric collage, and go ahead, you can frame it as it is. But because I'm interested in quilting and this idea of actually fusing all these things together, I pin them like a sandwich. So with the quilt, it's 3 pieces. It's the top cloth, so that's where I would have the portrait. The in between there is a cotton batting, and then there's the back cloth. That's usually just a big cloth that's as big as the whole piece. And I sandwich those 3 things together with pins, and I put them on my quilting machine, and I sew it all together. The cutting and the placement takes about maybe 150 hours, and the rest of the hours, another 50 hours is just in sewing. So the majority is just me cutting and deciding and thinking about this piece. As I'm working with the quilt and I'm staring at somebody's photo for 200 hours, I mean, how many times have we looked at any photo that long? We've looked at ourselves that long. So I'm learning things about this person by studying their image carefully. How is their head tilted? How do they hold their hands? I'm trying to use all these clues to give me an insight what their inner self was like.